Yo, what's up? It's me again. And today I wanted to make a special, not really a special video, but I wanted to make another rant video. Specifically, this video is going to be about One Piece, but it's not going to be a review. That's why I kind of said it was special, but it's actually about something I've been a part of for 2 years now, and it's a community, right? I've been a part of the One Piece community since I caught up like 2 years ago. I think it's 3 years now, but yeah, no, 2 years ago and a couple months. So yeah, I've been a part of the community for that long, and there's a couple of things that over the years I've seen from the One Piece community that just has always rubbed me the wrong way. And it's why I'm pretty much not like I only do the chapter reviews, but I'm not really like that into a lot of the community stuff. I am into some creators. I'll watch their videos every now and then, but not all the time. I just see a couple things on Twitter, but for the most part, I don't like seeing how like a lot of the community reacts because it's really annoying, honestly. Especially during Wano. That was the worst like experience I've ever had for a good amount of time until I stopped listening to them and then just started enjoying the story. I've mentioned this before, but at some point I did really hate One Piece. I felt like I almost hated One Piece, but nowadays I love it more than I have in that time. Even though I was definitely much more of a nerd back in the day than even maybe I'm more of a nerd now, but back then I was a big nerd for One Piece and I was into the community, but nowadays not really into the community, but I do like the story a lot. So yeah. Sorry if that took a long time, but yeah, I wanted to give my experience first of all. And now I want to talk about what the community has been like for these past couple of years. Since when I first joined in actually, I it was actually pretty nice seeing the community, seeing other theories and stuff, watching the YouTubers and everything. It felt nice, honestly. It was like a dream come true in a sense. Everything that everything that I had basically enjoyed about the story, I realized other people enjoyed too, so it made me really happy. Especially because I know One Piece is a long story, and you know, you have to wonder how many people are gonna read that story, how many people are gonna like it, how many people sat through all the like episodes or through all the chapters, who braved it and actually enjoyed it at the end when they caught up. And yeah, it was nice seeing that, but at some points I ended up starting to see like a bunch of criticisms. Every new week, new criticism. This didn't happen. X didn't happen. Oh, why did this happen but not this? It was always the same exact thing, right? It's like, regardless of what happened in the story, there would always be a complaint. And it always seemed to come from like very specific places. Like, occasionally there would be a chapter that everyone disliked, but for the most part, there was like a bunch of like very centralized like hatred from a group of people that would just every single chapter they're like, this is terrible, this is bad, this makes the story worse. And it just, at some point I felt like it was affecting me and how I viewed each chapter. Like, I would read the chapter and I liked it, but I would go and see what other people thought of the chapter, and it instantly like kind of soured my mood in a sense. It's like, do I really enjoy One Piece? And that was kind of like what I had for a couple months. It's like, do I enjoy One Piece or am I just reading it because I'm caught up? And I think that's what a lot of people have. That's a big problem I think the One Piece community has, is they've spent so long on the story that if they don't like the story at that point, they just keep reading it and they keep reading it and they're like, well, now it's really bad, but I've read it for so long, so do I really like the story? And if you don't like the story by that point, I would just say that honestly, I know a lot of people want to say this, but just drop the story, my guy. It's not you're not you're not hurting anyone. No one is going to be hurt by you stopping reading that. there's a lot of people that read the story. Oda's not poor. He's not going to be poor because he stopped reading the story. Like, there's legit no consequences in you stopping. But I feel like a lot of people, they want to make this sort of like bubble around them. Like, they want to deflect any criticism towards their criticism. They're like, "Well, no, I don't want to drop the story because I actually like the story. I just don't like this arc." And I'm like, "Okay, sure, that's fine. Having a criticism like that, but then whenever you get a criticism every single week, it makes it more like you genuinely hate the story more so than you hate the arc. If you hated the arc, you would have already stopped reading the arc and you would have waited until after the arc is done. So if it seems more like these people are just reading each week because they want to have a reaction for themselves, and then they want to spread that reaction to other people. They're like, how many people dislike the new chapter instead of how many people like the new chapter, because that's the sort of mentality they're going in. They're already hating the chapter before they read the chapter. There is no surprise. There's no like, is this chapter going to be good or is this chapter going to be bad? It kind of feels like that when you go into the critical, like the people who are critics. So right, that's one toxicity. That's one part of the One Piece community. Now let's talk about the opposite end of the spectrum, which is the dick writers. I'm gonna just say it. I don't care. They're literal dick writers, and it doesn't matter what if Oda messes up on something like really badly. They're like, no, Oda. Oda's the goat. It's Goda. It's like he can't make any mistakes with the story, and it's like he obviously makes mistakes. It's not a flawless story. Like there's no way you can go without making a mistake. Like whether it's terrible, bad, or like just like kind of whatever, it just sort of sours it a bit. It's like these people just don't accept any criticism. Like doesn't matter. And yeah, it's fine to just enjoy the story. If you like the chapter, regardless of what happened, and you're like, well, I like the chapter, you have that mentality. There's nothing bad with that either. It's basically how I've done things. If I enjoy the chapter, I enjoy the chapter. If I dislike the chapter, I dislike the chapter. It's like it just works like that. But some people, they can't have that sort of like, they don't look at other people who give criticisms and think of them like, oh, hey, this person's actually giving potential like feedback to what happened. Obviously it's not like it's going to change anything, but it's like these people just don't want to listen to it because they don't want to believe someone could dislike the chapter. It's kind of a strange thing. But yeah, these people are also annoying. They're another part of the reason why I didn't really stay with the One Piece community, was because like you'd have people who just overpraised everything that was done by Oda, and it kind of made it like a bit cringe, if you know what I'm saying. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the story and I act cringe with the story when I like it, but these people just are on like that extra level like of cringe. I don't even want to act all high and mighty because at some point, when I was really into the story, that was me basically. I was the one that couldn't see why people didn't like it. Nowadays, I understand. I've read the story for long enough. I understand a little more. I'm not gonna understand everyone's point of view, but I more so understand that you know some of the things Oda's done, it's not always perfect. It's not something that I know everyone will agree with, but yeah, that's how I see it at least. So yeah, there's that. And then these are the people. This is the final part of the thing. These are the people that just I don't think they read the story. I genuinely believe these people don't read the story. And the reason for my belief is for them to not read the story is that every single week you have these people who are power scaling, right? There's nothing bad with power scaling too, by the way. I like doing power scaling. I would say Blackbeard, Luffy, and Akainu are the strongest people currently. But on Mihawk too, right? But that's a Mihawk, you know. You can't really like he doesn't get brought into the debate because I don't think Luffy's ever gonna fight Mihawk. So, you know, that's for Zoro, right? So I like Paris killing myself too. And these people genuinely just it's like if they don't have a soul, it almost feels like you have the dick writers, you have the people that just hate on everything, and then you have the ones that don't read the story because you know they want to have their agendas, right? It doesn't matter what happens, they're just gonna always try and use like some sort of method to make it look bad on whatever they're hating. So like let's say they hate Sanji because they think Zoro's stronger, right? No matter what feats Sanji does, like they're just he's it's not gonna be relevant. And then you have the opposite end, the the fudgings Sanji ones that are just like no matter whatever Zoro does, even if he shows off like a very powerful attack, they're like, well, Sanji can just blah blah blah, and it's like, who cares? Who genuinely cares? Like, unless they're fighting each other, this has no relevance. Like, honestly, unless we make it to the end of the series and they end up just having like a scrimmage or anything, like it does genuinely does not matter if Zoro or Sanji is stronger because they're never gonna fight each other and they just mess around with it. Even Oda messes around with it. He's always messed around with the fact like I feel like he makes fun of the power scalers without them realizing it. Like he makes fun of them all the time. Like during the Onigashima raid, he had Sanji carrying Zoro. Like he's literally making fun of the power scalers right there. Like, oh, Sanji's carrying Zoro. You know, like it's so funny to me. Ah, that's just like these people don't. They feels like they don't read the story. Honestly, that's it. Like it's just agenda piece for them. That's what they should call it at that point. But you know, a lot of these are trolls too. Like you can't just say every single person is serious. Some people just do it because they want to, but it ends up stifling discussion in my opinion. It makes it a lot more boring to like have to deal with not just boring but toxic, having to deal with all these people that are just coming constantly and they're always saying like, oh, Sanji this, Zoro this, Luffy this, Law, Cade. It's like who it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because at the end of the day it's a story. Oda's gonna make whoever he wants to make win. It like there's this one quote. It was literally this is where I got it from. It was from Stan Lee. It took me a while to find that, but it was from Stan Lee, and he says basically it's not like it matters because this is actually not the quote. Don't quote me on this, but this is not how he says it. But he basically said that it doesn't matter who you think is stronger. At the end of the day, the author decides who's gonna win. And in that sense, yeah, it's basically a fictional story. There's no real way to say who's gonna win or lose. It's not a real life, you know. It's always fun to fantasize, but at some point it's too much, and it ruins all sort of discussion. So yeah, those are like the three main things I really wanted to talk about here. And one more thing I did want to mention. It's a little bit like I guess it's become more prevalent nowadays, but it from what I've heard, it's always been there, and it's theories, right? There's always going to be a bunch of theories going around. For Wano specifically, since that's when I joined, I might as well use the Wano specific theories. One of the most popular ones was the raid on Onigashima, right? From Mr. Morge. And personally, I liked Morge, right? I watched some of his videos, but it just, you see this sort of agenda, right? You have like a theory that you feel like is going to happen and you think should happen. And when it doesn't happen, you get really mad. You get disappointed because you feel like the story can't function without having X thing. And for that reason alone, it feels like everything's ruined. And I know some people want to put the blame on Mr. Morge for that, but it's not even Mr. Morge. It's very common, honestly. It's something that I had before, and I mentioned in a previous One Piece video I made it. It was headcanon. Headcanon is the most deadliest thing any any sort of One Piece enjoyer can have, and it's because it stops being about enjoying the story, and it's more about how can I fit my narrative into the story so I seem smarter, or it looks like I ended up coming out on top, right? And it's not wrong to have again, a lot of these aren't bad, but when you take it to an extent that it's like overtaking the story at that point, it's like people aren't enjoying the story anymore, and then they're more so like stuck up in this other world, right? So for that reason, I don't like headcanon that much. I don't really like having it take control of what I enjoy or not, because back when I did have a big headcanon, like I don't even want to explain it, but I had this theory that Kaido was actually gonna get up again, and he was. I always thought Luffy was gonna beat him, and then Kaido would get up and then fight Luffy, but it didn't end up happening, and I was a bit disappointed. But at that point, I was already over my head canon. Even though I still think about that every day. I'm like, what if Kaido got up? But it's you see, that's another thing. I'm like, I'll think about it every now and then, but I'm like, it doesn't really matter. So for Morge, it's kind of like that, right? With the whole Onigashima gonna fail. And I feel like a lot of people, not just that, but a lot of people got into this mentality and have gotten into these mentalities where they think something's going to happen in the story. And when it doesn't happen, disappointment. And I just find that to be another toxic thing in the One Piece community. It's not more so of a community thing, it's more of a personal thing. Even more so than the debates and everything. It's like these people try to spread their theory, and then when it doesn't get like confirmed, they're like, okay, this story's bad now. That's actually another subsection of the theories. There's so much with theories that like there's the people who like make theories, and then they're like the worst thing ever. It's kind of like my seraphim theory I made, and what's it called? It wasn't even a theory. It was just a like random bull crap. Honestly, like it feels like it's some sort of a hex, I guess. It's you put a hex on yourself, and if it comes true, then it's the greatest story ever. And if it doesn't, then it's garbage, bottom tier, the worst thing you've ever read. So yeah, you have garbage theories, and you have the people who make their theories like their whole personality. And if that theory doesn't come true, then you better hope that, you're not Iechiro Oda, because you're gonna be shaking in your boots. This person doesn't like the story anymore. It's really sad. But yeah, that's basically about all I have to say. You can like the video. I probably shouldn't, honestly. I really don't care anymore. Why not? That's not what I should be saying. I mean, I don't care if you like the video or not. But now that I'm saying it like this, it makes it seem like I'm liking it. Does this sound annoying? Probably, honestly. I'm gonna probably cut this out. Maybe not. Being crazy, that's a cool thing, right? Self-conscious. I'll make a video on that too. I was thinking of making a video on that too. Just another rant, but for now, I'm gonna keep my rant to this. Have a good night. Doesn't matter if it's daytime. You have a good night, okay? And see you later.